Speaking of, Israel has been forced to put the mask back on just 10 days after dropping the mandate. There's been a surge in Wuhan virus cases in Israel, so the mask is back. And in countries around the world, lockdowns have returned across continents. In Australia, 70% of its population is living under COVID restrictions. Bangladesh has entered a nationwide lockdown again. Curfews have been reimposed in South Africa. The Delta variant has triggered a fresh wave. Our next report brings you stories from 5 countries.
10 days after Israel lifted the mask mandate, it has been forced to put masks back on. There has been a resurgence in Wuhan virus cases, from 0 to 100 plus within days. Prime Minister Naftali Bennett chaired a cabinet meeting this weekend. Israel has decided to not reopen its doors to the world just yet. Halfway around the continent, Bangladesh entered a nationwide lockdown. All offices have been closed. River, rail and bus services suspended. There's chaos as people try to leave for other cities. 168 million people are confined to their homes. 119 people died of the Wuhan virus on the 27th of June, the highest ever for Bangladesh. At least 1,000 deaths have been recorded in the last 15 days. Down under, Australia is facing its most dangerous stage in the pandemic. The country looks deserted. Sydney and Darwin have been locked down. Perth has made masks compulsory. Brisbane and Canberra may lock down soon. At least 70% of Australia's population is living under some or the other form of COVID restriction. 30 new cases have been recorded. And 3 super spreader events. The virus is also resurging in Africa's worst hit country.
As I address you this evening, the situation has gotten worse.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa addressed the country on the 27th of June.
A curfew will be in place from 9 p.m. to 4 a.m.
His government has been forced to reimpose restrictions, a ban on all gatherings, and a ban on alcohol. The measures are expected to last at least 2 weeks.
Our response is appropriate and proportionate. In other words, equal to the current situation. Additional restrictions are necessary.
South Africa recorded almost 18,000 new cases on June 26th. Is this the third wave? And is it being exacerbated by slow vaccine rollout?
We really face the most serious crisis in the COVID pandemic since the early days in February, March last year. It's made the worse because this was a largely avoidable and foreseeable crisis, but thanks to the very poor procurement and rollout of the vaccines, we don't have that strength to respond to the situation that's emerging.
Less than 5% of Australia's population is fully vaccinated. In South Africa, it is less than 1%. Israel has the world's fastest vaccination program, but half of the country's 9.3 million people remain unvaccinated. Israel was aiming for herd immunity, but every time there is a glimmer of hope, cases invariably shoot up. One country has now decided to live with the virus. Singapore has been a COVID success story. It has recorded less than 63,000 cases of the Wuhan virus and has managed to restrict COVID deaths to 36. But it is not aiming for zero transmission. Singapore has put an end to quarantine for travellers, isolation for close contacts, and has decided to end the announcements of daily case numbers. Singapore will now treat the Wuhan virus like any other endemic. Is this the new normal? Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.